All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our weekly Team Passion Zoom call. Super excited to see you guys. Excited to have you here. We had a great training on Saturday, and then we had a little cookout at the house. The weather was gorgeous. Getting lots of feedback from the training on Saturday and how everyone just I think every week everyone says, this is the best training. I mean, every month, this is your best training ever. So I think we had a really good group of success story. Erica sharing her success story, and just really good training from Dale doing time management, and Amy some journaling, just really good stuff. So thank you guys, you local coaches that were able to come out and come to the training, because it was good stuff. So super excited tonight to have our guest speaker, Stephanie, with us tonight. She came to one of the Super Saturdays in Boston, and a few years ago, and she came up to me after and was, I'll never forget, she came up and she was like, asking me for advice and just kind of talking. And I was, of course, open to giving her advice and stuff. And then she's like, can you look at my Instagram and maybe give me some tips? And I looked at her Instagram and I was like, can you give me some tips? Way better than mine. So she was rocking that Instagram. So normally what we do on Team Passion is we usually have our own leaders speak, and we don't often have other leaders from other teams speak. But when I saw you on the 5-star wall say, hey, does anyone want to do a team call swap? I was like, you know what? I do. And so I just, reached out to Stephanie and said, I remember you from Super Saturday. I would love to do a swap. And, super excited that she said yes, and honored that she's here. So she's a 5-star diamond elite coach, a Success Club 10 legend, huge 34 months of Success Club, and is just doing amazing in this business. And she was able to share at the New Leader Conference. I know a couple of you were there and just loved listening to her speak. So I'm just so excited for her to speak on the topic of the importance of your mindset, which she will share her story and why that is super important, especially to her career and working this Beachbody business. So Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us, and take it away.
Awesome. All right, guys. So first of all, thank you so much. Kind of like what I do with my team is that thank you so much for coming on and taking time away from your family. I know this is usually time with your husband or your spouses or your kids and putting your kids to bed. So thank you so much for coming on and taking this next, 45 minutes, usually to an hour. Usually it does take about 45 minutes to kind of go through kind of my talk and just questions and things like that. I want you guys to know that I am an open book. Okay. So if you have any questions at all, at the end, I love answering questions. I share anything that I'm doing. And so anything is fair game. I'm a very upfront and open person. And I think you'll get that kind of as I'm kind of going through my presentation and kind of my talk. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So I'm just going to go ahead and play it. All right, let's see. All right. So like Nicole was saying, so thank you to Nicole. So my name is Dr. Stephanie Burgos, and I am going to talk about mindset because honestly, guys, if your mind is not right, your business is not going to be right. And it's just, I've been in this business for almost 3 years now, and I'm a physician. And so I've kind of had, kind of walk that kind of long, tough road and just kind of have some insight as to the type of mindset you need to have in order to have some success. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of my background. And so this is me back in July of 2013. And this was when I signed up as a coach. And so for those of you who don't know me, I was smack in the middle of my residency in Boston. So I moved to Florida from Boston, and I was a emergency medicine resident at Harvard. And I was smack in the middle of working 60 to 70 hours a week. And I was tired. I was burnt out. I was overweight. I had a whole closet full of clothes that didn't fit me. I don't know who can relate to that, having a closet full of clothes that don't fit you. And I wear scrubs all the time, right? So my uniform, even now as an attending, I wear sneakers and I wear scrubs. And so, clothing that's just, it's like basically like sweatpants and a sweatshirt, and just super forgiving. And I remember that I was always someone that was very active. You see, I was someone that from a child, I was overweight. I have always battled my weight in high school and college. And you can see me here basically this was in grade school. I was an overweight child in the top right corner. But in high school, I did Weight Watchers. In college, I did Weight Watchers. In medical school, I kind of just always stayed active because to me, exercise was my stress reliever. Exercise was my antidepressant. It was like if I didn't get a good sweat on that day, I felt really down. And so for me, it was a healthy habit that I had. And so in residency, I had packed on some weight. And so, of course, the overachiever in me who's like, great, so what do I do now? Now that I need to lose weight, then I was like, great, let me become a coach and let me sign up as let me start my own business. Like right when I was like in the busiest time of my life. And so I just want to kind of say I had come across Beachbody through Insanity. And I had this bootleg ripped version of Insanity, and I had tried it. And mind you, I had said that I was someone who was very active. And so I was very active, and I went to do Insanity, and it was hard. Those of you who have done Insanity know how hard it was. And it was absolutely soul crushing to me. And so I remember seeing, them talk about Shakeology. I remember them they were talking about the coaching opportunity. And I remember after I was done, I was like, I need to find something that I can do. And at the time, T25 had just come out. And I remember I would come home from school, not from school, but from residency, and I would go on Instagram and I would go on Facebook looking for inspiration. And I would find all of these girls who were posting before and afters, who were posting inspirational quotes. And I remember thinking like, I could do this. Like, why can't I do this? And so kind of that seed got planted just by me kind of going on and looking for my own inspiration. And I remember I started posting a little bit. I started posting an inspirational quote here. I started posting, a picture of my food here and there on my wall. And I remember my sponsor coach who ended up signing me up, she all of a sudden randomly approached me. And she was like, hey, I don't know if you've ever thought about coaching, but I think you'd be really awesome at it. And honestly, guys, I thought God was talking to me. Like, I thought literally like this was like my validation that I needed to become a coach. I remember that evening, I was so excited. And I was just like, oh my goodness, this girl told me I should become a coach. Like, I think God is talking to me. Like, this is it. And so use this as an example to make sure that you approach everyone, right? You never know when someone is thinking about, watching you, when someone is thinking about this, and all they need is that extra validation to go ahead and take that leap. And so the starting point of all achievement is desire. And so for me, when I became a coach, my desire was to lose weight. And so I bought T25. I put a picture here of my medical school graduation because I have always wanted to be a doctor. Since I was 7 years old, I knew that I wanted to be a doctor. And I was that child that would play with her dolls, and I would come up with these like really elaborate, prescriptions, and I would make these like check boxes. And I had this vision, right? And now in retrospect, as I think back, I realized that I was using my imagination and I was crafting a vision for my life. And how powerful is that, especially now in our business of what we do now, which is something, we basically want to create vision for our business. And so for me, becoming a physician was my life goal for so long. And achieving that was one of the greatest successes that I've ever achieved. And it was tough. I remember, and I shared this at NLC for those who were there, but I applied to 30 schools and I got 29 rejections. And the 29 rejections were all first. Like the last one finally was a yes. And that last one, I had to actually go call and remind them about me. So imagine had I given up on myself and I didn't have that desire to reach my goals, that I probably wouldn't have the type of life that I have today. And so I jumped in to becoming a Beachbody coach. And I was that coach that literally hit the floor running. Like I was someone that all of a sudden, like I said, since I was a child, I was used to imagining things and dreaming big. And I always automatically dream big. And I have this great, and I never think that I can't achieve it. I genuinely believe that you can achieve anything and accomplish anything with hard work, discipline, and consistency. And so when I became a coach, all of a sudden, like literally, I thought I was going to become a discount coach. And within like a day, my vision took off. And I was like, oh my goodness, what if I could help, one or two people a month? What if I could create a platform where I had 100,000 people following me? What if I could, go part-time in my job? What if I could travel the world? Like all of a sudden I started crafting this vision, and it never was, no, I could not do it. It was all of a sudden it was going to become when I do it and when I accomplish it. And so I put together this collage here, and I feel like this really kind of highlights my career so far. And so at the top is Luke. Luke's my boyfriend of 8 years this week, and he is my business partner. He is a full-time coach with me, and he's pretty much someone who has been through this whole journey with me. And he started with Insanity, and he was like my first kind of client in a sense. He did Insanity, and he was borderline hypertensive, and so he could have possibly needed to go on medications, and so his blood pressure was high. And so after 8 weeks of Insanity, his blood pressure dropped 20 points, and I was like, this works, which I knew this was going to work because it's nothing but exercise, but obviously now I had a confirmation, and I had my first success story, right? I had my first excitement, and it happened to be someone who I cared so much about. And so in the bottom is my before and after picture with T25. And so when I got my program, I really told myself, Stephanie, you need to stay accountable. Like, this is your business. It is your job now to work out. It is your job to show results. Like, your body is your job, right? Our body, the way that, what we show, our results help us and, help us motivate and help us inspire clients to work with us. And so whenever I wanted to go for that piece of cake, because I have a huge, huge sweet tooth, huge, humongous, like I eat sugar cubes, humongous sweet tooth. Like when I used to want to go for that piece of cake, or I wanted to go out to eat, I would say no. Like, I need to have results because I need people to see that this works. And so it was extra accountability for me. And I got amazing results with T25. That was 8 weeks of T25 was my before and after with Shakeology. And I was, definitely hooked. And so for me, from day one, I started sharing my journey, and I'll talk about that a little later, but I started sharing my journey. I was super transparent, and I have built my business completely on social media. I think it's great that Nicole and other coaches have really have local teams, and that's something that I'm kind of working on now more. But I also have grown kind of across the country because of social media and because of the power of platforms like Instagram and Facebook. And so I wanted to show, so the bottom left are two girls, two of my top coaches on my team, and I met them through social media, and I met them one on Instagram and one on Facebook. And honestly, guys, I think the team and the friendships are really truly the gold of our business, right? Being able to surround yourself with like-minded people who want to support you and who want to see you be successful and who have who have similar interests to you, like that is the gold of our business. And so I met these beautiful young women through social media. And so I wanted to put kind of that on in this kind of collage. And then there's two photos here, one on the Great Wall of China and one that I took in the Serengeti in Africa. And so, and I put these here because it's so incredibly important, because a lot of people ask me, Stephanie, you are a physician, you make good money. Why did you get into network marketing? Why did you decide to do something like this? And these pictures remind me of that, because I never came into this for the money at all. I came into this for the lifestyle that it could afford me. I came into this for the flexibility that it could afford me. So I have these two pictures here because last August, I finished residency in July of last year. I was able to take 3 months off before I could, before I needed to start my new adult full-time job, right? Because of Beachbody, because I had that income from Beachbody to be able to live off of and move. And I went in August on an around the world trip. I was able to volunteer my services on this trip, and I didn't have to worry about finances because I had Beachbody. But what I loved was that there I am in China, and I would go back to the hotel, and guess what I would do? I would work my business. There I was in Africa. I would go back to the hotel, have an amazing time throughout the day, and go and work my business. I would be in Turkey and work my business, in Russia and work my business, in the freaking Maldives and work my business. That to me is freedom, right? That to me is why I build this business and why I continue to build this business, and to show people that I'm not saying you have to leave your job. Not everyone wants to leave their job. Everyone really enjoys their job. But let's talk about adding some flexibility. Let's talk about adding some financial peace of mind in your life. And a lot of people know who follow me that I am on this track to being debt-free by the end of this year. And I started with $300,000 in school loans. And so for me to be able to live off of Beachbody, entirely for all of my first year and obviously that's a sacrifice, because I'm just literally just sending all of my physician pay to the loans, but having that ability to have that choice has been phenomenal, because now at the end of this year, I'll be completely debt free. And not a lot of people can say that with a $300,000 when I started, like literally last summer with $300,000. And so to me, that is one of the, two of the reasons, the ability to be able to travel and work from anywhere, and to be able to create, more financial flexibility and more just overall flexibility in my life. And then in the bottom right, I have a picture of me smiling, because honestly, guys, I had accomplished my goals from a child, right? I wanted to be a doctor. I accomplished it. Then I was like, now what? And I remember all through residency, I didn't know what my next thing was. I wasn't dreaming big. I didn't have something that was going to challenge me. I thrive in challenges. I am that personality that thrives with challenges. And so when I literally felt like I did not have a passion, and it wasn't until I found Beachbody that all of a sudden a fire lit within me, and I started having all these dreams, all these goals that I didn't have as a physician. And that's how I knew that there was something here. Even though I had no clue what I was doing, the fact that I had genuine excitement told me to hold on and figure it out, and to trust the process and to go with it. And so to change your life, you have to change yourself. And to change yourself, you have to change your mindset, right? So I challenge all of you guys to have a personal mantra. Mine happens to be life begins one step out of your comfort zone, right? Your comfort zone is a beautiful, safe, warm place. But guys, you do not grow in your comfort zone, and life will not take off for you in your comfort zone. And so I want you to think about what is your mantra. And I want you to really, create something that challenges you, not something that you're like, oh yeah, I live that right now. I want something that's going to challenge you. And I want you to put it up in your office, put it up at your, in your home office, your work office, put it on the refrigerator, different places where you can see that, and you can remind yourself that this is my mantra. This is what I want to live by. So I'm just kind of challenging you to that, because that is where you start really training your mind, when you start really pushing yourself in terms of the different mindsets. And so I'm going to talk about a couple different things that I think are really important for you to have. So number one, you need to leave your ego at the door. So I think this is incredibly important, because a lot of people come into this business with a history. No one comes in, no one grows up and says, I want to be a network marketer. Maybe like our children, and maybe your children will say that because they see that you're doing that. But a lot of us typically didn't come into this saying, I want to be a network marketer. I want to be a Beachbody coach. We came into this saying, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a nurse. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a social worker, whatever it is that you want it to be. But realizing that when you come into this business, you become a student again. And I think that's what a lot of people, don't understand. They think that because they have all of this history, they have all of this education. I don't care how much education you have. This is a completely different beast, right? Being able to market on social media, being able to, sell at this, at this capacity, being able to train people to do, to motivate people, to really build them up. This is a completely different world. And so recognizing that you need to become a student again. And what does that mean? When you were a student, you didn't know everything, but you still had to learn it, and you still had to act through it, and you still had to do things, and you had to fail forward through it. And so understanding that you need to become a student again, and you need to be coachable. This is so incredibly important, because a lot of people are not coachable because of ego. And so you guys have Nicole. Nicole is your mama bear. She is your leader. She knows what you need to do in order to be successful. She's had an immense amount of success in this business. And so she's telling you to do something. It's not because she wants to take you away from your family. She has a beautiful family. She understands the sacrifice. It's not because she wants you to, take time away from your job, or take time away from things that you really want to do. But she also understands the type of commitment that you need to have to your business. And so understanding that she has your best interest of heart when she's telling you to do things. And so being open to your leaders and doing what they're telling you to do, because they know what's best for your business. And then in terms of also of ego, being willing to fail forward. I find that a lot of coaches, they genuinely feel, they fear failure. And I think it's because, I don't know if they internalize it, like they say, I am a failure. It's not that you are a failure. When something goes wrong, it's not that you are a failure. It may just be the circumstance. It may just be the situation. It may just be maybe, what you did was a little wrong and you just need to adjust. But basically it's not meant for you to, if you're on the road, kind of the railroad to success, and all of a sudden you hit that first obstacle, it's not about, if you get off that railroad, you need to get right back on. It's not about falling down the hill and getting into the water and kind of going down the stream. It's about getting right back on and moving forward, not letting failure really stop you in your tracks, but realizing that this is just some sort of feedback that you're getting. And that's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. Don't internalize it. Don't take it personal. Just say, okay, this didn't work. And maybe whatever this is that didn't work, maybe it doesn't work right now. I'm someone that I will try things. Like I will try things now that maybe I tried things a year and a half from now that maybe I didn't have the right amount of people or the right team to do it with at that time. And I try it again now and it works, because you have to be willing to try those things, because there's so much trial and error in this business. And also in terms of ego, you need to really be transparent and share you, right? I think this is a big deal for a lot of coaches and a lot of people coming in. So I was that coach that from the very beginning, I shared everything. I was someone that went from never posting to always posting, like that. Like I never used to post. I just used to always just scroll and just like people's comments and just use it for my friends and family. And all of a sudden I started posting. And it's just so incredibly important, guys, that you share yourself. Why? Because every single one of you has a tribe that needs to hear from you, that needs you to be a leader, that needs you, that wants to learn from your struggles, from your past, that wants to relate to you. And I recently had a girl on my call who was so amazing. And I genuinely wanted to go through the screen and hug her because she was so incredibly transparent. And it dawned on me, as I was watching her, that I genuinely never feel like I'm in competition with other coaches in this team or in the whole company. Why? Because there are specific people who are going to come to me and who are going to work with me. Just like there are specific people who are going to work with Nicole, and just like there are specific people who are going to work with each and every one of you. You don't have to, and obviously the way that they're going to know you is through how you're posting, right? So if you only share Shakeology and you only share challenge packs and you only share your workout, you guys are so much more than that, right? You're so much more than that. Your mothers and your teachers and your wives, and you've gone through struggles and you've had hard times. Share those things. Why? Because there are so many people out there who think that they're alone, and maybe you have a story that they can relate to, and maybe you're that person that they can say, you know what, I'm not alone. I'm like that girl on social media, and she's going through exactly the same thing that I'm going through, and it sucks. And look at her, she's still being positive. But if you're not sharing your struggles along with all the positive, you're never going to find the people who are going to be able to relate to you and the people who you have the potential to impact the most. So understanding that you have a tribe who's out there specifically for you. And if you're too afraid to share you, that's a selfish thought, because all you're thinking about is yourself, and you're not thinking about all the people that you could help who are out there watching you. So leaving your ego at the door. Number 2, you need to do your reps. So it takes 10,000 reps before you master something. 10,000 reps. So this is what I think is incredibly important, because a lot of coaches come in super excited, and then by week 3 or week 6, week 8, they're done. They're like, I can't do this. So this is they posted 5 times, and they're just this is not working. I can never be a coach. No one likes my posts. I have 2 likes on my posts. We all have this on all of our teams. This happens to all of us. Guys, we all started there. We all start from the bottom, and we all work our way up. And so understanding that just as you need to do your reps, you need to put in the hard, unglamorous work behind the scenes. And a lot of you who are, if you're Ruby or Diamond, or if you have other leaders beneath you, and I know Nicole knows, it is a lot of hard, unglamorous work behind the scenes that you don't see. You may see all the success. You may want all of the financial success, all of the time freedom, but realizing that behind that was a lot of hard work. And so understanding that you need to do the unseen steadfastness that goes along with this business. And for us guys, that is the 4 vital behaviors every single day. And I capitalize that because it's so incredibly important. Every single day. Guys, in 34 months of coaching, regardless of my schedule, regardless of life circumstances, moving, from the north to the south, working, 14-hour days, taking board examinations, regardless of all of those things, I never missed a day of posting. I always showed up to my shop because that is my responsibility and it is my business to do so. And so understanding that if you want the same success that I have, that other coaches have, know that it is their consistency of showing up every single day that has helped them be successful, that they don't let life circumstances stop them from showing up into their shop. And then obviously when you're doing your reps, you're practicing, right? At the end of the day, none of us came into this knowing how to handle objections, knowing how to handle rejection, right? We get a lot of rejection in this business. We get a lot of objections. We didn't know how to handle these things. But guess what? You needed to practice it. You need to go through those conversations. So understanding that you're going to have that kind of momentum time where you're just going to be practicing and going through conversations, and look at every conversation as an opportunity to practice, as an opportunity to get better at sharing your experience, at sharing our opportunity, at learning how to explain our products, at learning how to inspire and motivate others. Every single conversation is an opportunity to practice. And if you look at it that way, you'll go far. And then obviously the concept of delayed gratification, guys. I spent 12 years of my life going into medicine, 12 years of my life going into debt, 12 years of my life saying no to events, telling no to my family when I couldn't go to birthdays, when I couldn't go to weddings. And I did it because I had a big goal at the end that I wanted to achieve. And I knew that it would be worth it. And I've taken that same mindset and I've applied it to this business. I knew that I would not be successful in a year. I knew it was going to take me time to build. And so I used that same concept of delayed gratification and I've applied it to this business, and it has served me well. Discipline. You need discipline in order to be able to be successful. And discipline, I put the definition here because it's so incredibly important. It's the ability to control your impulses, emotions, desires, and behavior. It's being able to turn down immediate pleasure and instant gratification in favor of gaining the long-term satisfaction and fulfillment from achieving higher and more meaningful goals. Guys, you need to be able to have the discipline to do the work no matter what. You need to do it even when you do not want to do it. And those are the coaches that end up being successful. The ones guys, I'm sick. I literally came home exhausted after working a 13-hour shift. And I laid down for 2 hours. I got up. I started walking, started with movement, just getting energy because this is important to me. And I know that, and I genuinely love, I love speaking to others. And I love, just this constant communication with other teams and just other people. And it's something that I genuinely love. And I do it because I have to do it. It's part of my business and I genuinely love it. And so I would never, so understanding that you need that same discipline in your business, the same way that you have the same discipline in your job, you show up to work every single day, right? You show up every single day, no matter what, unless you're genuinely sick. You need to approach your business the same way. You need to show up no matter what. You need to have belief. Did you know that 66% of entrepreneurs fail? That's a really bad, that's a horrible statistic. 66%. The odds are against us, genuinely. So if you know that 66% of entrepreneurs fail, and you know why they fail, it doesn't have to do about finances. It doesn't have to do with just kind of, equity and all of those kind of numbers thing. It has everything to do with their mindset. It has everything to do with their belief in themselves, that when they hit those roadblocks, when they hit that obstacles, when they hit those negative margins, they quit and they give up and they don't keep pushing forward. And so if you don't believe in your business, then why should others? So you need to have belief in yourself. You need to know with 100%, conviction and confidence, you're going to be successful, that you're going to stick with this because you love it and because you know you can change lives and because you know this could be a game changer for your family. You need to have that same belief with 150% confidence. And understanding, guys, that when you have that belief, you're going to start attracting people who are going to believe you, who are going to want to get on this bus with you, right? If you guys haven't read The Energy Bus, fantastic book. You should read it, by the way. And it's just, you're going to want, people are going to want to get on that bus with you. So understanding that, I wanted to, we attract people like us. And I think that's also, that's something that I tell a lot of my coaches, which I think is incredibly humbling, is that you will never attract a coach who's better than you. And I think that's incredibly, incredibly humbling. So if you're someone that you want to attract someone who's a go-getter, who's confident, who's going to work hard, who's disciplined, guess what? You have to be those things too. You have to be that person who's going to be disciplined. You have to be confident in your own skin, right? You don't have to be outgoing and kind of crazy like I am, but you have to be confident in your persona. And that's incredibly important. So confidence is really important because that's how you're going to attract other like-minded people. And if you do not have belief or you do not have confidence, then personal development needs to be your major focus. That needs to be like an hour of your day on the road, using it, audio, using it as much as you can to pour into yourself because you need that in order to be successful. And then the last thing I want to touch upon is vision and a mission, and your vision and your mission. So one thing that I have realized is that what separates successful coaches from non-successful coaches is that successful coaches have connected Beachbody with a mission and a vision that genuinely speaks to their heart. It genuinely, it makes them cry. They can stand behind it with passion, 150%. So asking yourself, what speaks to your heart? Why do you want to be successful? Why? And it's not because, I want to help one other person, or, I want to be healthy. No, that's not why. Why, deep down, why do you want to be successful? Write them down, tangible goals of why you want to be successful. Something I tell a lot of coaches is imagine you had 100,000 people coming to your page every single day. What is the mission? What is the statement that you want them to receive from your page? What is the legacy that you want to leave behind? What do you want people to feel when they come to your page? Think about that. I don't care if you are a brand new coach on this team or you're an emerald on this team and you only have a small following. Treat it as if you have 100,000 people following you. And trust me, you'll start growing it to that. You're putting that motion. You're basically faking it till you're making it. You're putting it out into the universe that that's what you want and you're going to get that. So also thinking about giving your talents, passions, and values, how can you use these resources to serve, to help, and to contribute, right? And so for me, obviously, the mission of our company really genuinely speaks to me. It's to end the trend of obesity. And I have here because, guys, this is a map from 2012. Those red states show greater than 30% of the population, the adult population in those states that are considered obese, greater than 30%. And this was back in 2012. So I know that probably all of those orange states are probably red now. And what's incredibly scary for me is that not only is it affecting the adults, but absolutely 100% it's affecting our children. And so 1/3, 1 out of every 3 children are overweight or obese. And what does that mean? That means early heart disease. That means early diabetes. That means early, incidence of stroke and all of these horrible, horrible conditions that are all 100% preventable. Usually, but through proper nutrition, through exercise from a young age. And so all of you are role models to your children, right? And so when I hear another scary statistic, which is by 2050, 50% of our population is going to be obese. 50% of our population is going to be obese. That's what they're predicting. That is scary, incredibly scary. And it's not just that. So I think that's incredible. That for me, that's very motivating as a mission, but I take it a little deeper. Why? Because I work in the emergency room and I'm sick and tired of seeing so many women and men come in with depression, come in with anxiety, come in wanting to hurt themselves. Because when I see these women and men who are in my room, in my exam room, crying, and they have no idea how to move on with their life, and they're literally stuck, all I can think about is just how much they're trapped in their mind. And I genuinely tie being obese and overweight to low self-esteem, and I tie it to a high incidence of depression. So when I think of 50% of our population being obese by 2050, I think of this. I think of depression. I think of anxiety. I think of people who are trapped in their minds. And I think of 50% of our population who are unproductive and they're not living out the true talents that God has given them, right? A lot of you, if you've suffered from depression, you know that you're not being your best self. You know that you're not able to live out the talents and the gifts and the passions that you have. And I've seen it through firsthand experience on my team. I've had a girl who was pretty much suicidal when I met her, and she was someone who was really in a low spot, and she has used Beachbody to come out of that, and now she's doing beautiful mission work, and she's able to pursue her passions, and she's lifted that cloud, and she's pushing through that. And I always think, wow, what happens if she, what would have happened if she would have never joined us? Where would her life be? How would her life be different? And that's what I think about whenever I'm talking to someone. So I don't think of this as just challenge packs and just Shakeology. I think of this as genuinely being able to influence someone's life, because fitness is one step. It's that first step to a woman being able to care for herself, and a woman saying, you know what, I am worthy of taking 30 minutes for myself, right? How many of you, when you do that exercise, that's 30 minutes of your time. And some of you, before Beachbody, you weren't doing that. You were giving everyone else your time, and you were giving none of your time to yourself. And so that's the first step for a lot of us when we're working with people. And so understanding that if you can latch onto a mission. So for me, I genuinely want to help combat obesity, depression, and anxiety. And that is a mission and a vision that I can take to my grave. Like, I genuinely believe that, because it riles me up. It fills me with anger, in a sense. And I learned that from a Tony Robbins. I don't know if you guys have ever gone to see Tony Robbins, but he talks about that. He talks about, finding things that make you angry. Why? Because then you're going to want to right them. You're going to want to work hard to make them right. And so every great dream begins with a dreamer. And always remember, you have the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars and to change the world. So this is a picture of my team. I love my team. These are all girls that, again, I would have never met had it been for Beachbody. And they all have unique stories. And I mean, on my team, and probably on your team, we have women who have gone through so many atrocities in their, between depression and, trying to commit suicide and sexual abuse and alcoholism, all of these horrible things. And, and what I love about Beachbody is that we are helping those women one person at a time. We're helping them with their personal development. We're helping them, feel better about themselves. We're helping them with their self-esteem. And that is something that I can 150% stand behind and fight for, especially when I have doubters who come, which actually don't, but when I have doubters who do come, and, I know that I can stand proudly behind our company. And so there are only two mistakes one can make along the road to truth: not going all the way and not starting. And so I want to challenge every single one of you guys. This is the end of my talk. And so I want to challenge every single one of you guys to really think, have you been getting in your own way? Thinking about all of the different things I talked about, letting go of your ego. I talked about doing your reps. I talked about discipline, belief, mission, and vision. Do you have all of those things in line in your mindset, and which ones don't you have? And what can you work towards so that you can start seeing, more success in your business? Because I know if it's anything like from what I see, from my success partners and their teams and my team, a lot of coaches get in their own way. They stop before they even start. They give up before they even really started running. And so I'm really, truly challenging you. And I hope that, what I've said today could really, inspire you and motivate you to just start and just to keep motivated, to stay consistent, and to keep chasing that dream of yours that you have. And then that's it.
Awesome. Thank you. That was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys. What do you have for questions for Stephanie? That was such good stuff. So many pages of notes here. What do you guys have? You can type it or you can unmute yourself. You're all free to unmute. I have a question. So when so still now, even doing your residency but still now, like working crazy hours, 14-hour days, and fitting in your Beachbody business. Can you tell us a little bit what that looks like? Like, is it when you're done for the day? Do you try to sneak in some time on breaks? Like, what does that look like?
So it all depends on how busy my shift is. So if I have a really slow shift, and sometimes that happens, I will do work during my shift. And so I'll have my Gmail up. I do a lot of my correspondence through email. And so I've taken a lot of my correspondence off of Facebook, and I will transition it to email. And so I can do that from my desktop, and I can do that at work. And I have all of my scripts saved in my Gmail because I use Streak for my Gmail is basically how I manage my whole kind of business now is using Streak for follow-up and just kind of initial conversations. And so when I'm at work, if I have the time, yes, I will follow up with people. I will reach out to people. I will post when I'm at work. However, if it's a crazy shift and I cannot, then I will make sure that I get those things done as soon as I get home. And so as soon as I'm in the car, I'll post about like how busy my day was, and I'll post a quick, just to start getting myself back, just to kind of present myself on my social media. And I also will post right before I go into work. If it's a 6 o'clock shift, you'll see me post at like 5:30 in the morning, so I genuinely will work around my schedule. I typically don't work a lot during, while I'm actually at the job.
Good. There's a question that was typed here.
So just random, this is your position I love, but it's been irritating my throat. That I don't know. I don't know why it would be irritating your throat. And so I would not know unless, you're having like an allergic reaction to it or something, or if there's something in the shake. But one thing you can try then, if it's definitely irritating you, obviously speak to your doctor, but you could try not drinking it for a couple days and seeing if your irritation goes away. It could also be that maybe you have a cold. I don't know. But it just kind of depends.
Allergies that kill us this time of year. For sure.
Lots of allergies.
Anybody else have any questions here?
Nicole, I have a question.
Yeah.
Stephanie, you said at the end of your presentation that you don't really get a whole lot of objections about Beachbody or the challenges or things like that. Can you go into a little bit more about that? Like it's just like are you putting so much content out there that you're just, like people are just coming to you, or do you just attribute it to your personal development? Can you talk a little bit more about why you're not really getting objections
right
at all about what you're doing?
Well, I think it's because I've been doing this for almost 3 years, and I've kind of stood the test of time for a lot of my followers. And so a lot of people that now will sign up, and I tell my team to this, a lot of my Success Club points, a lot of my current coaches have genuinely been following me for a very long time. So they've been following me for a year, 2 years. And so they see my consistency. They see that I talk about it. And they see, they kind of trust my judgment is kind of what I would say, is that I think it's more so the test of time and just kind of being in this business for this long and still being here. Like even now I'll get people, from medical school who will reach out to me, and those are honestly the best messages that I get, because they're just like, wow, I've been really watching you. It's really phenomenal what you're doing. And it's incredible that you're able to build this business and still work your job, etc. Because I think there's such a stigma with network marketing, and people have such a bad taste in their mouth from other poor ways that other people are like, throwing it down their throat. But I also promote a lot of the lifestyle of Beachbody, and I kind of, and that's how I feel like you're going to attract someone like myself or someone else who's a professional. It's not going to be through the products per se all the time. It's going to be kind of through the lifestyle, and so just showing them that I'm paying off debt, showing them that I'm traveling, showing them that I'm building, a successful career, and they see that through my social media. I feel like that's why it's so important that you're sharing everything about you and sharing what you're doing, sharing about the business, sharing about what's going on with you, because you want your audience, your avatar, you want them to know you before they, by the time they even come to talk to you. So then you're going to have all those objections that are going to kind of not even be there anymore, because they would have seen you. They may have one or two, maybe it's price. That's always the biggest one. And so now I don't get any more like, I still get a lot of no's in terms of price is too expensive, but a lot of times I get more of a like, no, I want to do this. I just need to save up for it, which is a different than just no. In the beginning, I used to get a lot of no, like, whoa, that's too expensive. Like, this is ridiculous. You're ridiculous. But I stood there, I kept posting, I kept showing up. I kept showing the results of my clients. I kept showing my results. And like, so that consistency and that firmness and you believing in your products and your company through the test of time over time, you won't have as much objections to the actual business per se when they come and talk to you.
All right. So how do you build new relationships in an authentic way?
So I would say that, so I build a lot through, the way that I've kind of get a lot of my challengers is I do a lot of call to action posts. And so I never do cold messages. I've never cold messaged anyone. I've never reached out to anyone in that sense. I have always posted very aggressively that I have a challenge group starting. So whether it be on Facebook or whether it be on Instagram, every single day posting very aggressively that I have either a coach mentorship or a challenge group starting. And so then people come to me. And then when they come to me, I genuinely will ask them, try to get to know them a little bit. What are their goals? And I usually ask the same questions. And so I don't necessarily go to, I don't approach people in a cold way. And I will always, if I see someone that I like, then I'll go to their page and I'll like and I'll comment and then I'll invite, and then I never genuinely will go out and invite them though. Like I make sure that I'm commenting and liking so that they see my items. And again, it's all about me posting very consistently about what's working for me and what I love about our business and how it's benefiting me. And that's how I build a relationship with my audience. And honestly, that's what I feel like has been a lot of successful coaches. You see some of these top successful coaches, their life, what's going on, a lot of what's going on. And it's because they share it. And so you're building a relationship. If you genuinely look at, that's how you're building a relationship with your audience. So they're getting to know you in that way. And that's how I've always built.
Can you recommend a book or a webinar to help with belief or developing that belief that you can reach the big level of success?
Yeah. So obviously I like, You're a Badass. That's a really great book that a lot of coaches read. I also, if you're someone that struggles with wanting things to be perfect, there's a really great book called The Gifts of Imperfection. That is by Brené Brown. She's a fantastic writer. If you guys don't know her, she did her PhD in shame, in the topic of shame. And it is a fantastic, fantastic book. It's a very deep book and I love it for that reason. But it's definitely, if you're someone that struggles with perfectionism and kind of, you'll want to read that book because it'll definitely open your eyes to learn about where it's rooted and really really pushing yourself to kind of stem away from that kind of mindset. So I would say kind of the Gifts of Imperfection, You Are a Badass. And then I really like The Energy Bus, which is but it's just more about having a positive mindset. That is a fantastic book. It reads like a storybook, especially on Audible. I do a lot of my personal development on Audible, in the car, on the way to work, and in long trips. So that's a really good book that I also like. Brené Brown is the author of The Gifts of Imperfection. She also has another good book, which is called Daring Greatly, which I'm going to read next because I heard that's really good. And then someone said, what's Streak? So Streak is a contact relationship management system through Google, through Gmail, and it's free. And all of you guys should be on Streak. That's if I could leave you guys with anything, I would tell you to please consider Streak if you're not using Streak. Obviously, if you have a system if you have a system already, stick with that. But if you're someone that you're like, oh, my messages are in Messenger and you don't have a follow-up list anywhere and you're kind of just scrolling through your messages to follow up with people, you need a system to follow up with people. Because I will tell you 90% of my sales, 90% of my current prospects, they all come from follow-ups. And if I didn't have a system in line to be able to follow up with the hundreds of conversations that I've had, I would be leaving sales at the table, right? And so you need to have a way to have that system so that you can follow up. I have Streak and use it, but I feel I could be using it better. Do you have any training on it? So there's actually 2 trainings. So I have a training on how to set it up. It's on my YouTube and it's on and if you look Streak, Streak for Beachbody, you're going to see mine and Brooks as, one of the 2 of the top that are the most viewed. So Brooks has a good training. She has multiple videos. And then I have good training on how to set it up. It's an hour long, but the reason why it's an hour long is because I literally take you through like every single step of it with you. Like I'm like, click here, press here, insert here, because I just really want you guys to like make sure you know how to use it. But I use Streak for my follow-ups, for my challenge packs, for coach prospects, for my coaches, and for my clients. So I use it for everything.
Anybody else? Any more questions? All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. Again, this was amazing. And I know that everyone got a lot out of it. We started with 50 people and we are holding strong. So that is always a good sign of
That's good, right?
people staying with us. Yes. So amazing, amazing. Thank you very, very much for this evening. So yes, you're getting lots of thank yous in the chat box. So feel better and
Thank
thanks
you.
again. Bye, guys.
Bye.